prior to my logging on, and so it changed around a couple of settings. Hang on one second. Okay, we are good to go.
Okay, we'll call this special meeting of the Thomaston WPCA to order at 7:02 on June 23rd. In attendance for the WPCA are Joe Feiner, Veronica Leduc, Mark Lasko, John Piscopo, Rich Chandon. Also attending is Rich Tingle, plant manager. Rich, is Bert on? Or I haven't seen it.
No, Bert, I don't think Bert's going to make it tonight.
Okay. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the minutes for the May 26th special meeting. Anybody have any comments, questions, corrections?
Move we approve the minutes.
Second,
John Piscopo.
second, Rich Chandon.
Okay, we had, who made the
Piscopo.
motion?
Piscopo.
Okay, and Rich, you seconded it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Joe Feiner, how do you vote?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Mark?
Is that me?
Lasko?
Oh, abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay, John Piscopo?
Aye.
Rich Chandon?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with one abstention. Next item on the agenda is S&E Systems and Controls. Rich, you want to bring us up to date on that? Rich Tingle?
Okay. Well, we have a problem going. We had a big problem with our router at the treatment plant, which S&E Systems came in. Al Santa Maria spent quite a bit of time. He did finally get it running. It appears that Frontier stole took one of our IP addresses. So he redid all the pump station addresses here to that new address. And in the process of that, he found out that our routers are outdated and need to be upgraded. And then Sal is here, and I think Sal would explain a little more in depth what that means.
What we did is we had a backup routers for the treatment plant and the pump stations. There's two separate types of routers. And when we went to do the configuration, we wanted to back up the new configuration to our backup plant router. And when we did that and put it in, it was acting pretty flaky. So Rich asked me to look into getting a replacement for that router. When I did that, I found out that what they call the end of life cycle for all the routers that are existent in the treatment plant telecommunications network are actually expiring between July and August this summer, 2020. What that basically means is that SonicWall will no longer provide firmware updates and security updates to those routers. And what those firmware updates are critical because that's where all your new stuff for preventing hacking in through the routers and stuff like that. All the security updates are required or get installed, updated every year. So I made a bunch of calls, talked to different people. For the type of network that we have in there, these routers are their replacements. And we would need one for there's two different types. Like I said, there's one for the treatment plant, which is a multi-port VPN tunnel router. And the other ones are just a smaller count for the what we call the VPN tunnels. So you need one for the treatment plant and 5 to replace the pump stations. And what I did is I just sent this in directly to Rich. I sent him a copy of the quote from firewalls.com. They are sonic wall distributors. In the quote, what we did is rather than trying to get someone in here for a couple different things, they can actually take the existing configurations in the routers and migrate those settings over to the new routers. And they'll do it on a per type fee. So there's two different router types. So there'd be 2 engineering fees. The one you see there, the initial base quote actually included the engineering fee for the plant router. The one that was missed after discussion was the pump station router setup fee. There are 5 of those pump station routers, like we said. We're just going to have one of them done, and then I would copy that configuration to the other routers and then take care of doing all that, the address changes myself. And that's about it.
Hey, Sal, just one question. I just came to my mind. Do we need to get a spare for the one spare for the pump station and one for the plant?
I was just going to mention that.
Okay.
Did you submit the initial the firewall.com quote to get put up here also?
Yes, it is. It is, yes.
I'm looking for it. I
It might be if you scroll down on that one. I think I sent them both together.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
there you
I'm
go.
sorry.
There. Yep.
So a second router appliance only would be $375 for the pump stations, and configuration service. 1113. Now that's for the top one there, but that's that also includes the 3-year service. So you wouldn't need to get that for the second router. We could. I'll have to get you a cost. We want to get what they call an appliance only cost for that first router. Let's see something here.
What was the question, Sal?
To get a spare plant router.
Right.
Hang on 1 second. A spare plant router and a spare pump station router. What the cost would be. I'll dig that up for Rich and get it to you.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a total quote there of 4,012. If, just to be on the conservative side, we throw in another 1113. For the plant router, and another 375 for a spare pump station router, we've got a total cost of 5501.
Yeah, but that's
So-
not including the other, for just the hardware stuff. But I think the total cost without those spares was $7,156 if you scroll
Right.
back up.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay, so take the 7156 and add 1114 and 375.
The appliance only is $500. I just got on their website.
Okay, so 503 and then 375
Yep.
plus the 7156. 11, 13, 10. That's, I get $8,031. I don't know if that's quickly.
Yeah, that's probably right. You're adding about 900 onto the 7156, roughly.
So if we rounded that off just a little bit, to, throw a little, just, I don't know. Any shipping or anything, Sal, or anything else that goes with that?
I think at that volume, I think you might probably qualify for free shipping. Either way, the shipping can't be that much. Those are pretty light devices.
Yeah.
Not to exceed 9,500,
How much?
95.
Yeah, I think that would be plenty.
Why so high, Joe?
Yeah, that's an extra 1,000.
Well, you said you say 91 or 81?
81.
81, I'm sorry.
So 85
that.
should be a good not to exceed number.
Yeah,
You agree
You
with
wanna
that,
make that-
Sal?
Yeah, no, I think that'll be perfectly fine.
You want to make that motion, Joe?
I do. So moved.
Okay, anybody second?
I'll second. Mark Lasko.
Thank you, Mark. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a quick question, John Piscopo. If Frontier sees that the modems are at their life's end, isn't there a policy to replace them?
There's two different things, right? These are not modems, these are routers. Frontier does supply the modems, and they're a separate device from the routers.
Frontier gets it to us and then we have to take the signal from there.
Right.
Thank you.
So it's like taking your home router and adding a wireless access point to it or something like that. They're two separate things.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Hey,
Just
Sal,
so-
one other question.
Yes.
Since Frontier has filed for bankruptcy, should we be considering and looking at alternate suppliers?
Well, that person-
Cable, AT&T, somebody else?
well, what's going to happen is even though Frontier goes out of business with those telecommunications network, somebody else will pick up the business. That's a guarantee. Just like when Frontier was trying to buy it from AT&T. There's too many customers out there just to have it go dead.
Okay,
And just so I'm clear, that was, that quote now it was not to exceed $8,500 for the router upgrade.
Correct. That was the motion.
Yep. Okay.
Dana was seconded. Any further discussion?
I got one, Mark Lasko. What's the life expectancy of the routers? 10 years, 8, 9?
It's
15?
around 8 years. That's the first thing I actually asked them. Once we upgrade all these routers, what is the life expectancy of these particular routers? And he said it's around 8 years.
Mhm. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, Joe Finer, how do you vote? Joe, are you there?
I am. I didn't hear you say anything. Okay.
Yes. Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
Veronica Leduc, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark Lasko, how do you vote?
Aye.
John Piscopo?
Aye.
Rich Chandon?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
All right, Rich, at what point do you think you'd be issuing the purchase order to get this set up?
After July 1st.
Okay, that's I thought probably the 1st of July.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Sounds good.
All
Well,
right.
thank you.
Thanks, Sal.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, Sal.
thank you, Sal.
Yep.
Okay, the next things I had was, I planned to do it under consultant reports. If anybody feels uncomfortable with that, I would then like to have a motion to move Unimetal up in front of consultant reports, because both of these items have to do with Unimetal.
I'm good.
Okay,
No problem.
It's all fine.
okay, Stacy, could you put up the Unimetal local limits review, please? Okay. It's about 7 pages long. Debbie, are you online?
I am here. Hello, Tom.
Okay, hi. You want to do a quick walkthrough on this? For those who haven't read it, and rather than take a bunch of time now, and then we'll move on to Ty and Bond's comments.
Sure. Can we maybe just go maybe just to the conclusions? Actually, it's right here. Here we go. Sorry, up at the front here. So our kind of summary issues here are the several layers of contingency that are present in the local limits report, over and above what the EPA local limits development guidance recommends. We also were not able to replicate the average domestic and commercial loadings in their table 6.1 of the Ty and Bond report. The local limits report restricts Unimetal to a flow rate of 50,000 gallons per day. And the boron limit is overly conservative and not technically justifiable.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, Stacy, could you put up the Ty and Bond review? Okay, I don't know how many people have seen this, Debbie. I know you haven't. This is an email that came in recently. Going through bullet by bullet, the
Okay.
50% allocation was done at the request of the WPCA in an effort to preserve capacity for future industrial users. We also felt that it was needed to preserve capacity for actually industrial users that we may not know about now. There are several factories around town. There's several factories in the GLC building right in front of Unimetal. Several of those probably have general permits that they were not required to tell us about.
Mm.
So we do need to reserve capacity. Arcadis does not.
So it's up to the POTW to do an industrial user survey. That is it's a requirement in the pre-treatment regulations. And I will tell you, after many discussions with Ozzy at Deep, he thinks that the POTWs are required to know who their industrial users are. So that, and if you're referring to like the miscellaneous general permit, that technically doesn't come into play here. It's really only significant industrial users.
And how do you define significant?
There's three requirements that EPA lays out. So it's greater than 25,000 gallons per day of processed wastewater. If a industry is a categorical, what we call a categorical user. So for example, metal finishing is considered a category. And the third is a catch-all. Anyone who the POTW thinks is has the opportunity for pass-through or interference.
Okay.
This is George. So just one point of clarification. I thought I heard you mention something about the building. They thought there might have been some dischargers, tenants in the building. Is that what I'm hearing?
I said that's a possibility, George.
Okay.
There are also other industrial facilities around town.
Mm-hmm.
Carbide die shops, tool shops, J&J Precision, EFI, drawn metal tube. There's a number of them around. There was an Eagle Brass that was in the old Plymouth Atwood building. We have tried to get a listing from Deep as to the general permits that are out there. Have not been able to get anything recently.
From town, you mean? Who's in Thomaston has a general permit? Is that the ask?
Correct, yes, yes.
And so what's the, I guess what's the concern is that at some point they may come to you and say, we need allocation?
Or somebody may want to move into town, yes. I have a real concern with comments in here about requesting the entire maximum allowable industrial loading for the facility. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Arcadis would give up all their other customers and deal only with Unimetal. I think that would be foolish to put all the eggs in one basket.
So, yeah, I totally agree. The way that the one that Ty and Bond did and the one that Weston and Sampson did, their local limits report, it is only applicable to Unimetal, which to me means they are the only significant industrial user in town. So that was my assumption.
Okay, but a whole bunch of insignificant ones can add up to be significant. And that's data that we don't have and have not been able to get.
If I could ask for who are not currently speaking, that would be helpful. Thank you.
So there's also different allocation procedures that can be applied to local limits. So for example, how much a industrial user, the flows and loadings that they require. There's different allocation procedures, I guess, that we can work on if that is the case. So right now we've just done the uniform concentration limit calculation. Again, just assuming that we were the only gig in town. We can kind of talk offline and see who you've been talking to, and I can work with you to get that information from the Deep.
Okay. Now, you also had a comment that you do not agree with the 20% of the SBR design loading to industrial.
Yeah,
that's in the existing facilities plan. And any change from that would trigger a new facility plan. And that requirement came from Deep.
Okay, so I don't think that was specifically how we stated it, because I wasn't clear that it came from the facilities plan.
Okay, I believe it did.
Okay. But you possibly might need to redo your facility plan anyway, right? Because you're up against the flow requirement.
Oh, I agree.
Okay.
And that's in the planning with the capital committee, capital fund committee, capital
Okay.
project. But still, that's a 1 or 2 year
Sure,
program.
sure.
There's no way that could be done probably even by the end of 2021. And the cost is going to be somewhere around $500,000.
Yeah, it's a big effort.
So right now, I think we need to go by whatever we have. Now, Ty and Bond claimed that all the calculations were done at 0.93 something MGD. And you had a comment in there that the loadings were artificially high because the plant flows were at 0.7, but they did the calculations at 0.94.
Yeah, I wasn't able to replicate those numbers. That's the table 6.1. From the Ty and Bond report. So that's why we ended up recalculating them.
I don't know. I thought before that there was some agreement on working toward the 50,000 gallon per day, down from 80. And quite frankly, I picked that number because we also have the state coming to us asking for 33,000 gallons per day from Black Rock State Park. Realizing that they would not be able to get that implemented for some amount of time, I offered the possibility that we could start with 80 if you then dropped it down to 50.
Right.
I don't know that we could go with much more than that if we were to take in the 33,000 from the state. And we could be forced to do that. You know, they can claim a public health hazard over there and force us to take it.
Deb, Tom's correct, right? We talked about the 80 going down to 50.
Mhm.
So this section here really doesn't have much to do with that, right?
In a tiered way. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
We're on the page. We're on the same page, Tom.
Okay.
That's what we've been working towards too. Yeah.
I think we need some limits though at those, I know the Ty and Bond report was all in milligrams per liters plus pounds, but I could be wrong, but it appears that Debbie's stuff was all in pounds per day without the milligrams per liter. Is that correct?
Deb?
Yes, I believe so.
I'm just saying all our permits here, anything that I have to meet is pounds and milligrams per liter. And, I personally feel that it should be both. But that's, we don't want the flow reduced and then getting a high concentration and still meet the pounds. That could be a slug or, coming into here.
Yeah, well, we have a slug avoidance plan. That was a requirement of the current permit. And we also, as we reduce the flows, it's going to be harder for us to meet those concentration limits.
Yeah, those might have to be adjusted. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think there has to be more time to work on these permit limits myself, but it's, my own personal opinion, we had gotten, we sent this final review out, I think it was in January, and we didn't get your responses back till May. And now we're asked to really put this all together in a month or two, you know, it seems like, you know, and I'm speaking for myself, that we need more time to put this all together, you know? I don't want to see the town rush or WPCA rush into this and not have, you know, all their ducks in a row here, because you know, there could be problems. And, you know, based on Ty and Bond's report, who we hired, you know, there could be problems. So that's my input on it.
So far,
Understood. And we want you to be comfortable with it, right? You're the responsible party here. So I don't want to go into this without you being comfortable, Rich.
so far, Debbie, we don't even have any information on the proposed treatment system for what would be coming to our plant.
So we'll be getting you that with the full permit application, but honestly, it's typical phys chem treatment. So similar to what's in place now with the current treatment system.
You know, my question to that is, Debbie, they did their whole study on your effluent to the river. On checking, and that's a total different treatment process than going through the one that's coming to us now.
It's actually very similar.
Same.
And you know, I could be wrong again, but to me, that's a separate discharge going to the river than what's coming to hit us right now. It seems to me that would be, it's a new discharge completely. It's, you know, if you were renewing your permit, you would be renewing it for the 30,000, the SPDS permit that's coming here. NPDS permit, which is going to the river, is an altogether different discharge that now we're trying to lump them all together on the SPDS permit. You know, those are questions that I have.
We did have this good discussion before, and that's why we ended up keeping this thing treated as two separate discharges, because we have control over the one that you're receiving right now, and this one, as it existed going to the Naugatuck River, the NPDS permit was separate. So that's why we've done all the work so that there was no interferences with the other system. The NPDS system that we have right now ends up probably being, I want to say more robust than what we have with the existing system. It's larger in size with a flow that's going to be, you know, just slightly higher than what you have coming to you now from the Speedy side. So I think it's from a metals standpoint, it's going to be easier to deal with than it is with the one that you're receiving at this point in time. You're getting the heavy loading right now when it comes to you know, the cleaning and deburring processes as compared to the rinse waters coming out of the plating processes. Am I right to say it that way, Deb?
Yeah, so the NIPD's system now is definitely bigger. We have a lot more EQ available, and that tankage isn't going away. And the limits are tighter on the NIPD's permits than the WPCA permit limits.
Okay, could we move on to, let's say, the boron for now?
Yes, Tom.
Okay. You offered to share an $11,000 cost to test for boron inhibition with the WPCA. That, was there a comment that would take about 3 weeks to do? Did I see that someplace?
I believe that's accurate.
Okay. I'm curious as to how you would plan to do that and make it representative so that the effect would be with a typical discharge from your proposed NPDES to SPDES system. I don't think it would be valid to do the test strictly on what's coming into the sewage treatment plant now. I think it would need to allow, I think it would need to have some interaction with what would be coming from the new system.
Agreed.
Well, we would actually propose to use either a fluoroboric acid or a boric acid. And basically, are you familiar with respirometry?
No.
So it's essentially simulating an activated sludge system, and it measures the oxygen uptake rate of the bugs. So we would dose it with different concentrations of boron and use a sample of bugs from the SBRs currently, and dose it till we found where essentially the bugs died, right? So we'd come to some, you basically do different concentrations until you see where that inhibition happens.
And you're saying inhibition is a total failure of the treatment plant?
I'm
The
not.
bugs- the
No,
bugs
you
said you do it until the bugs die.
right. You can see when they stop functioning properly, I'll say.
You know, to me, once the bugs, that would be an oxygen update, but there's also nitrification. There's a lot of bacteria, bugs different bugs doing different things that it could affect, and it won't affect the update, the oxygen update. That's just one part of it. You know?
Yeah, but so your bugs now would have the nitrifiers in there. So we would be able to see all of that with the sample from the SBRs. Right? They breathe just like the other
Right. There's
bugs.
there's different times when the
Oh, sure.
nitrifiers are doing something, denitrifiers are doing something.
Sure.
It'd
Yep.
be hard, it would
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this was we would run the sample plan by you guys and get concurrence.
Okay, we can put that shared cost to a vote after we're done discussing this, if that's okay. The last thing I had was nitrates. You seem to have oh geez, my screen just went blank. Okay, you seem to have a feeling that the denitrification, the nitrate breakdown occurs in the collection system to some degree.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, it just so happens that within the last several weeks, nitrate levels on the influent to the treatment plant have spiked dramatically. They are up probably at least tenfold. So if it was degrading in the collection system, that shouldn't be happening.
Well, we will check our sample results, but I don't believe we have increased that much.
Oh, I'm not saying it's you. I don't know who it is. Typically it wouldn't be residential, but as we said before, there could be somebody else in town that we don't have complete data on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my only comment is that I don't think we can count on that. That the nitrate denitrifies in the collection system.
Well, we saw it in the study, in the sample results from the local limits. There was no nitrate in the influent.
Yeah, we've had, just in the last, since November, we've had an average of, not an average, but like, I've seen 2.5 up to 4 parts per million of nitrate in the influent, which in an influent in a domestic treatment plant is
Right.
it's 0.
Yeah.
Something, that's something that we only test it once a month,
Okay.
but it's definitely increased.
So we need to keep that in mind too, Deb.
Yep. Yep. Could be, runoff, fertilizer. There's a couple different.
I don't know, do fertilizers really have nitrates or do they have nitrites?
Oh,
I know it's a nitrogen compound, but I don't know which one.
I thought it was nitrate.
In the
but-
fact, it's been really dry lately too. So we
Mhm.
haven't gotten a lot of I&I, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Okay, does
Are you
anybody else?
having an issue? Sorry, I'm just curious. Are you having an issue with that on the tail end, Rich?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're up typically our effluent is we get our nitrate level down to about 2.5. The last 2 weeks, I've been up at around 7. And we do get quite a bit of money back on our nitrate,
Okay.
We're meeting our permit, but it's up, quite a bit higher.
Okay.
And basically that's getting up close to the mass loading that we're allowed in the permit.
Yes.
So, yeah, I guess my experience with nitrate has, I have a client who has to add it to their effluent to basically inhibit sulfide generation. So that's a general benefit in the sewer system. So we have so far to go. I don't know the exact path, but we're about 2 miles from the treatment plant. So by the time it gets to the influent, it's gone. And frankly, it's difficult to remove, right? They'd have to put in biotreatment or a very expensive ion exchange system. We are evaluating different options to reduce nitric acid usage in the interim. But it's very difficult for a phys-chem treatment system to remove.
Okay. Okay, does anybody else on the WPCA have any comments, questions?
I have a quick question, John Piscopo. On the boron issue, it was mentioned a couple meetings ago that you were going to look into doing some research on countries that or regions that just do not use boron anymore, a certain process where they're not even using boron in their processes anymore. Have you done any looking into that since that's been mentioned?
We have. We actually have the data sheet, the MSDS sheets on all the chemistries, and an order has been placed with our proprietary chemical house to bring the product in from Germany. So we might be 3 weeks out from actually making a bath up with that chemistry.
Thank you.
Excellent question, Joe.
I can't believe you went back in your notes and remembered that, you son of a gun.
Hey, John?
Yes?
Keep in mind too, that if they decided to go to that process, there would probably be a fairly extensive trial period with their customers, where their customers would have to approve that change in process.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that probably would not be a real quick fix, but one that might come along down the road.
Good point.
Anybody else?
I'm good, Tom.
I'm good.
Okay, would entertain a motion to agree to the test for boron inhibition with a not to exceed cost of $5,500 to the town of Thomaston.
That, excuse me, that and the sampling and testing plan must be pre-approved by the
Yeah.
town of Thomaston.
Good point.
Mhm.
That would be my motion in total.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that. John Piscopo.
Thank you, John. Does anybody have any comments on the motion? Okay. All in favor, let's see, roll call. Joe Finer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Veronica, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark, how do you vote?
Aye.
John, how do you vote?
Aye.
Rich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Debbie, get us that sampling program protocol
Okay,
as soon as you can, please,
okay,
so we can have a little bit of time to review it.
you bet.
Okay, and you're still on track to, let's say, get us a new application by the end of June?
Yes.
Okay. Look forward to some exciting reading.
Yeah. Hopefully more pictures than words for you.
Why, what
Okay.
else are you reading, Tom?
Tom, is it,
Okay, thank you, folks.
Tom, one question.
Yes.
Rich mentioned, we got to start coming up with, some numbers that we have to discuss, for the flow. I mean, is it still too early to start talking about an offline meeting, or how do you guys want to proceed?
It's probably a little bit early. Why don't you wait until we get the permit application, Jordan?
Okay.
And, give us a little bit of time to review that, and then we can set something up, I think.
All right. Fair enough.
The one question that I would have, Tom, if at all possible, is as we're trying to do our planning, we can work towards the numbers of a loading standpoint and the parts per million. Can we work with the 80,000 gallon number as we're trying to engineer this right now, backtracking to the 50? I just want to know that we're not spinning our wheels too badly with that number.
I would say yes, but if you want, we can put that to a vote, Pat.
That would
Make
be
sure
wonderful.
everybody agrees.
I think you can do a straw poll. I don't know if we need a formal motion there.
I-
Your call.
No, I agree, Joe. Joe, your opinion?
Yeah, again, let's get the 80 plan down to 50 plan with some time limits, or your proposed timing. So flush it out as much as you can.
Okay. Veronica, do you agree?
I was just going to say, we'd need to have some timeline on how we would be bringing that down. I wouldn't want to just presuppose that we'd go from 80 to 50 with no plan about how we would get there.
Agreed.
Okay. Mark, do you agree?
I agree. No problem.
Okay, John, do you agree?
Agreed.
Rich, do you agree?
Yes, I
Rich
do.
Shandon?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so we'll use that for a starting point then, Pat. Okay,
Thank you very much.
anybody have anything else?
And Tom, one other question. So as we're working those numbers to get down to 50, I mean, what's a timeline you would like to see that happen by? In months, years, so we know how to plan. You wouldn't want to exceed 24 months, 36 months, 12 months?
Well, George, we couldn't do 12.
No, I understand, but we have to ask the question because we have to understand if it's realistic as well,
Good point.
I'm just thinking in my mind, Tom, you know, you don't have to answer it right now. I'm just, you know, we need to start formulating too. Is it 80,000 going to 70, 60, 50 and, you know, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, you know?
George, this is Joe Finer. I'll kick that back at you too.
Mhm.
You know, put something on the table.
Okay, fair enough.
George, just my personal opinion, I would say, again, looking at a guess as to when Black Rock State Park could be online,
Okay,
I would say that probably would not happen until the spring of 2022.
got it. Okay,
Okay, so I would say I'd feel fairly comfortable right now with 18 to 20 months from now, which would put it at the end of 2021, or certainly first quarter of 2022, to be down to 50,000.
yeah. Well, if we're not gonna get off the river till May of 2021, that only leaves us about 12 months. I don't think that'd be feasible for us.
And that's where I'm saying, you know, you got to come back at us. I
Okay.
don't know what's feasible in your place too. So, you know, we kind of need to meet halfway
Yeah. All
from a
right,
discussion standpoint, right? If you say, well, it can't be less than 13 years, then, you know, we're going to look at it different.
yeah, no, I got
And if you say it's going to be 6 weeks, we'll say, yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
it. All right,
Just so you know what's in my head. My head is no less than 21, no more than 36.
all right.
But
Yeah, we'll put something on the table and we'll
Right.
discuss it. Sure.
Okay,
All right,
Very good.
all right,
Thank you.
guys.
thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you, folks.
See you
All right.
next week, month.
Bye. Next
Bye.
month.
Okay, let's move on to Rich's report. Or let's say, are there any other consultant reports to talk about? Rich?
No. Nope.
Okay. Okay, status report then?
Okay, okay, process is running well, but we are experiencing higher levels of nitrate the last couple of weeks. It's actually going back to November when we looked through, but the last couple of weeks have been, you know, in the 7-8 range. We are experiencing problems with mice into the trucks that are outside. They've chewed the insulation under the hood. Bert is looking and for ideas on how to stop them. On 5/24, the crew pumped out number 2 primary tank and inspected it. We pumped out the finished sludge storage as low as we could possibly go, and that was 1.6 feet. On 5/28, the scale in the laboratory had its annual calibration. 6/1 S&E systems and controls finished up integrating the UV intensity probe, and it's integrated with our SCADA system now, and it's all working great. 6/4 S&E systems and controls was called regarding no communication at any of the pump stations. We covered that earlier. He corrected the problem. It took about 5 hours. You know, Frontiers, our IP address seems like it got stolen. And, you know, of course, he found problems, found our routers to be no longer supported and it need to be updated. And that was all.
What can we do about Frontier taking the IP addresses?
They've done it 3 times now. There's, you know, we corrected the problem the last time, or the last 2 times. Sal spent about, I bet you 8 hours trying to convince them to change it back again. This time he went, because he can go to each pump station right from his computer. He just did it online and changed it to the IP address that they gave us, the one that they gave us this time. I don't think there's much you can do. You know, Sal doesn't know anything you can do.
Okay.
Depends on who they gave it to.
Yeah. But him able to just change the addresses in all the pump stations to review, because he can tell what the IP address that we're using now is, that's coming in that they replaced ours with. he was able to do that. He did it all in, 5 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
6:12 and 6:14, Grotzky was in to do the summer air condition preventive maintenance on all the air conditioning units. Okay, that's it for the treatment plant. Pump stations, 5:22, on-call operator was called in at 3:10 a.m. Low-level Kennedy Drive pump station, and then again at 6:30 a.m. Manager Tingle, myself, went up and troubleshot with operator and found that the level transducer had failed. Called in Naugatuck Valley Electric, since conduit was filled with cement and wires for transducer could not be removed. The electric junction box in the wet well was completely corroded. On 6/2, Naugatuck Valley came back. We ran the wire over to get by. We had a spare transducer. We ran it above ground, got it into the building and connected it directly to the PLC. So we were up and running. And then they came back on 6/2 with all the parts, new junction box, new wires. We ended up running new wires for the floats and we had the transducer already, but new float wires and a new vapor barrier to stop the fumes from going into the building. And we finished that on 6/2. And everything was tested. All the floats were tested when they were there, and everything was working fine. On 6/2 also, we had a pump, number 2 pump at Woodbridge Lane was not pumping. We removed the pump, and we found that the cutter was it's pressed into this fitting, and it was freewheeling again. And we've had that happen before. So Bert ran it down to the highway department. They spot welded it, put the pump back in, and it seemed to work for a few days, for a week. And then or for the weekend. And then, excuse me, it worked. We kept it in, it worked for till 6/8. On 6/5, we were called in the pump overheated. So, I got called out for overheating, high temperature. They reset it, everything worked fine. On 6/8, we actually replaced the pump with a new pump and take it out again, put it back in. We have a new pump at Woodbridge Lane now. We had a spare, and that'll get in it. And that pumps, it was nice putting a new pump. At least we know we're good till this upgrade gets over now. But we had to take that pump in and out twice.
Yeah, now it's press fit in so that if there is something major that jams it up, it spins off, right? The tack weld is temporary.
No, that was permanent. We've done this before.
Okay, hasn't been a problem.
No, not at all. That's
Okay.
how they've told us. Mechanical Solutions told us to fix it.
All right.
Yeah, they come loose, then it's worthless. Then the pump doesn't pump anything.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
And
Sometimes
we've
I've seen it as a safety so that you don't eat the rest of the pump up.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
No, as long as you got it covered.
yeah, we've done it. We've done it quite a few times and it's worked. But with a new welder, they've never done it before. They might have had a little piece of the weld that was rubbing on something and it made the pump overheat.
Yeah. Thanks, Rich.
Yep. Let's see. On 6/6, the on-call operator was called out for generator running at Highwood Farms and Woodbridge Lane. Everything was all set when they got there. And that was, again, we got called out on that day for high temperature. That was 6/6 on that pump. And with that, so we got called out twice for high temperature before we replaced it on 6/8. Okay, and that's it for pump stations. Collection systems. 5/28, Joe's Sanitation installed the new manhole on Center Street, and we should be all set as far as the road being paved. On 5/29, had a meeting with Inland Wetlands, Thomaston High School representatives, WPCF staff. Did I say inland wetlands? And it was regarding the beaver dam at the nature center. We have the okay to clear the right of way to the beaver dam and then meet again to discuss the plan. Highway and the WPCF crew has been very busy and we haven't been able to do anything with that yet to date.
And you now have a milligram per liter limit for beaver inside the treatment system.
Yes, new limit. Oh, in Joe, by the way, that when we were out there, that manhole was 18 inches. There was 18 inches of water above that manhole.
Ooh. Fortunately, it's not leaking.
Yeah, it's not. And there was no evidence of anything going in it, from looking at from the outside there.
That's good. Just for everybody else, 18 inches at about, I don't know, 5 acres.
There's a lot of water back there.
Mhm.
But, so we'll be working on that when we get a chance to. The highway was really busy and they're the ones that would be. And the other thing is if Black Rock does decide to come in, they're going to be clearing that right away 3/4 of the way anyway. So we might just wait till they do that.
Right.
Because I'm sure now that, the high school is concerned with the area, the water going back into the nature center, but I'm sure by now it's that most of that water's, a lot more of that water's gone. Because a lot of it just in the last month has receded quite a bit. Okay, on 6/5, the WPCA crew repaired a manhole that the cover popped off on Hickory Hill Road. We got I think it was the PD called and said that a manhole was flipped upside down. We went up there and it was, there was one of those rings that had rotted out again. We just took the ring out and put the cover back on and filled it in with asphalt. And those will all be repaired when they do the Hickory Hill Road. Okay, on 6/14, this is a big one. I was notified around 12 p.m. that the force main on from Hickory Hill Pump Station on Route 109 appeared to have failed. American Rooter was called to maintain wet well. Joe's Sanitation was called in to repair line. At 1:30 p.m., it was confirmed to be the hole in the force main. At 3:30 p.m., all sewage was being pumped to a manhole that feeds the Hickory Hill Pump Station. Repair was made to the line, trench backfilled, and all equipment off-road by 9 p.m. Electronic bypass was submitted to DEEP, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was notified. And I've been down there. I went, that day I went down, checked everything. I couldn't see any evidence of everything. I don't know where, it went down into the woods somewhere, but I didn't say it hit the stream. I couldn't see that it did. And I actually went down 2 days. And could not witness anything, see that it did. So that's how. And I also when I notified DEEP with just an email, she said thank you. I'm glad it wasn't substantial, so or significant. That's it for collection system. Correspondence, I have nothing new. If anyone has anything or
What about that email you got on the nitrogen credits?
Nitrogen credits? Yeah, I had this already. I think this is almost all set before I did that. I would have brought that up at the next meeting, but I can. I don't have that. I don't have that correspondence online.
We don't need it online. If you just tell them the draft email was, estimated potential payment of $27,000 for nitrogen credit. Correct.
Yep.
They need to firm that up anyway, right?
Yeah. No, that's what we'll be getting. We're going to get it in November. We used to get it after, like in August, but because of the COVID, they've extended that date, and it's going to be we'll get that check in November. So it, even though the nitrate procedure in calculating the credits, how they said it was going to be about half the amount we used to get, we're still getting a lot, $27,000 is quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, going to old business. Unimetal, we covered earlier. Capital improvements, S&E system is still putting a budgetary estimate together. They haven't yet on the SCADA upgrade. FOG, the WPCA clerk is getting a letter ready. Actually, she got the letter out for requesting maintenance records. List of equipment needed, and that's right now, we're going to wait until July 1st, but that's the sonic routers for communications with the pump stations. Like we said, we're updated and we need to get those purchased and installed. Phosphorus, everything seems fine at this time. It looks like we did a calculation today and it looks like we're going to have enough chemical to get through this season without having to order anymore. If everything stays as is. Renewable energy, I have nothing. I don't know if Tom, do you have any more, Tom, with the solar or?
Well, just a couple of emails between somebody trying to push Ed Moan to get a memorandum of understanding, and Ed asked me about it, whether I would agree to it. And I said I would not. I said, I've given this guy all of our requirements, told him he needs to do the work on it. He needs to come to us with a proposal. He needs to come to us with a draft contract. I'm not going to do it for him. I'm not going to give him what we did before. That's not, in my mind, proper business practices. The last thing I saw was Ed wrote back to him and said, well, it looks like you got some work to do. He was trying to push it because there's a July 13th deadline for the energy credits.
Okay.
And I don't see any way he's going to make that. That's all I had.
Okay.
Right in my eye.
Black Rock State Park, and nothing new. I haven't heard anything from them.
Nor have I.
New business, I don't have any. I don't know if anyone else has any.
I do not.
Okay, then
Okay, so on to the budget.
budget and I would say we do go look at the statement of revenue first, Tom, maybe?
Yep, that's fine.
Yes, there we go. The statement of revenue right now, it says, we have 79% left in the budget. There are quite a few outstanding bills left. We are going to have money in the sludge. We have, we're using, there's some in there that had, because we just did a lot of cleaning of the tanks that aren't in there yet. The electric, there's fringe insurance that hasn't been taken out yet. We're 3 months behind on that. But I think with the overages, I think we're going to have an overage in electricity, overage in sludge. I think we're going to make it, the budget. It's not, some items are going over, but I think with the other ones, we're going to pull it off. And it looks like, the collections are doing fairly well. That'll be close to the budget, fairly close. But the collections this year, I think we said we would take 45,000 out of the sinking fund. So we, realistically, we would be 45,000 short anyways, but with all the, still collecting payments in arrears, in interest, and we did a lot better with Arcades this year with Tech Systems. Our miscellaneous income was up. So I think next, I think I can keep the budget when we get to the budget the same that I have the proposed budget, but maybe shift a little, I could take some money, we're a little short in the repair and replacement of 432. We could just keep it there and have that a little higher and just as a buffer for the other ones, or I could take, we know the chemical this year costs 12,000 for the pack. I could put, see what we have left there, but put 12,000 of that into the other line item, put 12,000 from sludge into the 432 repair and replacement, and that would cover the new chemical. Or we can just keep the sludge where it is, and we can use the money from there. But I think we can keep the budget, and when we get to the budget, I think we can keep that right where I have it, and it's a little less than last year. So that's what I have.
Anybody have any comments on this?
Yeah, quick question, Rich. Where's the money coming from that we just voted on for the routers, the 8,500?
I'm going to take that right out of our operating budget. In July 1st, we get a new budget.
Oh, okay, I got you. Oh, it's going to be bonded? Did you say bonded?
No. It's just going to come out of the budget.
Next year's budget.
Next year's budget.
Gotcha.
This year, I'm not taking it out. We're going to wait till July 1. It's only a couple weeks away.
Thank you.
And we'll take it out of that budget.
Anybody else?
I'll toss in that I took a look at the bills for April and May and make the motion that we accept those bills as presented.
Second,
Mark, you seconded?
yes.
Okay, any discussion? Joe, how do you vote?
Aye.
Veronica?
I,
Mark?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Rich Chandon?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, move on to the budget sheet.
Okay, you can see the budget. It's, I have, the 1920 approved budget, what we spent in 18-19, and now the new draft budget for 2020-21. And due to, reduction in the pension, pension contribution was less.
Why is that going down so much?
I don't know. They must have made some money, maybe. That's calculated every year. And what the actuarially determined, the actuary determines that.
Okay,
And then, I didn't go up on, much. Kept everything, pretty much the same. Salaries went up a little bit, but, so the total budget is actually down. And then I did 2 user fee calculations based on that budget. And I did one with no transfer from the sinking fund, just straight out forward. And that would have been a 2.7 increase based on the billable gallons from 2019. And then I did one with us transferring 34,000 $300 from R&R. And that comes out to a 0% increase. And with the amount of money that's in the sinking fund, and, you know, we may not have to, we've put in over the last few years, every year we've said we were going to take money out of the sinking fund, but we really haven't had to. I think there was one year we did, but we've actually collected the budget and or spent less than the budget. So we're putting money into R&R instead of taking it out. So that may be the case this year too. We might with the 45,000 that we said we were going to take out of R&R to supplement the user fee. We may not have to do that again. And this year we're saying 34,000. You know, maybe we won't again. You know, but that's to get the calculation. That's what we'd have to do to get it to 0%.
Rich, Commissioner Leduc, did we have any discussion for that $5,500 that we just committed ourselves to for that study, where that would come from?
The 5,500.
Yeah, half of the 11,000
Yeah.
for the boron. Where would that come from? Because I'm sure that would be in the next budget.
Right. That would be 5,500, not 55,000, right?
Oh, did I say 55,000?
I thought I heard you wrong.
Oh, boy. No, 5,500. Sorry.
Right. Yeah, that, that I don't have in the budget, but I could, I can take it out of a line item, and then we can, take it out of, professional technical services, 310, and then, we're gonna.
Yeah, I just didn't know, since we know that it's going to be coming, or likely that it's becoming, if we should put it in a line so that it's there.
I can put that in. We need to approve, if you'd like me to do that, I can definitely do that. I'll squeeze that into one of the line items and then do it, do everything over. And then the next meeting is when we need to approve the budget.
Okay, just increase the professional and technical services line, that's all.
Yeah, yep. And I can do that by the $5,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll recalculate everything. With everything, that's not going to be much, but big increase at all. So, I mean, I think, we'll still be able to go with, the 0% increase this year due to the fact that everything's what's going on, and we have we have a pretty good surplus in the sinking fund.
I think that'd be my target.
So I'll recalculate that. I'll put the 5,500 in the line item for professional services.
Okay, that'll raise the budget, then just raise the transfer.
Yeah, exactly.
From R&R by that same amount, and it should be a wash at the bottom.
Yep. That's what I'll do.
Okay, anything else on the budget?
No, that's all I have.
Okay, do we need an executive session?
I don't think so, Tom. I think the next meeting we'll probably have an executive session, but I think we're good for this meeting.
Okay, so just keep it on the agenda then.
Yep.
Anybody have anything else?
All set, Tom.
All set.
Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Brandon moves to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Piscopo, second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, in the opinion of the chair, the motion passes unanimously at 8:21. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Be
good night.
safe.
Here we go.